Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast, The Musings of a Sanguine Christian Woman. And welcome also to my YouTube channel, which is called, well, whatever name you see on it. Welcome to my YouTube channel. At the moment, it's called The Faith-Based Counselor because that is like what I love to do a lot. I enjoy that work. I could do it for free, which is practically what my podcast is based on most of the time. But because, I am not I'm counseling and also speaking my mind, um it's just who I am naturally. It took me a while to even know that I was a natural counselor. I just like to, you know, thoughts just come to my mind, and when I share it I realize, wow, that's a solution right there. And people are like, that's a solution right there, and I'm like, really? Oh, okay, I was just sharing my thoughts. So my thoughts often come out as, a counsel, or why don't we try this way kind of thing, and why are we doing this kind of way. So I decided to call it the musings of a sanguine Christian woman. Maybe I should call it the musings of a faith-based counselor. I don't know yet. I don't know yet, but that's an idea right there. Don't take it without my permission though, okay? Because that's another topic, right? Where people just take stuff from other people, claim it as their own, and usually the people who fall victim of this a lot of times is black people, and it seems like it's normal. Like, it's like there's a label on, I don't know, is there something on black people that says, if steal from black people or something? I don't know, man. It's just, I'm not going into that right now because I'm kind of upset about that. So, but what I'm upset about right now, but I'm quite articulate about, is this trad wife movement. Trad sounds like a cult at this point. Traditional wife movement. Now, let me lay the foundation of my standpoint on this before I talk about what I believe is just not good about this whole thing. Number one, I'm a Christian woman. If I hadn't said that before, I'm saying it now. I'm a Christian woman, but my own Christianity is not the type where I conform to other people's idea of Christianity. No, I read my Bible and it's what the Holy Spirit reveals to me about myself that I work with. It reveals myself to me. That's what the Christian faith does, really. So for me, the Christian faith is a knowing myself better, knowing who I am, knowing my strengths better, having a revelation of what I am, who I am, what I'm capable of, I what my strengths are, and being able to fine tune those strengths and having a full picture of who I am. Like it's like, when your life is in pages, or it's like a tapestry where they roll it bit by bit based on what you're capable of handling per time, because God weighs your strength at the moment, and he doesn't want you to be overwhelmed. His word says that he will not let us be overwhelmed. So he reveals to us things about ourselves that we can handle for the moment. So sometimes you don't get a full picture of your capabilities until you're ready to. So it's bit by bit, stage by stage. So you are the one who has to, like, build yourself in God, and so that you can gain more, you can understand more. But then again, everything is in stages, everything is in time, and we're like we're like buildings, we're like things that grow, we're like plants. Plants grow in stages, and as they're growing, their roots become stronger. Sometimes some plants have their roots have to be completely formed, completely entrenched into the earth before they start to shoot out. Depending on the kind of plant that you are, depending on the kind of personality you have, you may have to grow in the dark before you start to burst forth and show forth, more or less like a bamboo or something. That being said, so me coming from a Christian perspective about this whole thing, or rather just me being me about this, being a traditional wife is not a problem. I don't even see it as a traditional, like, why the traditional wife thing? Like, why is it that we have a problem with now? Why do we need to live in the past? Like, we're supposed to learn from the past, not live there. That is on one hand. So when they say traditional wives, I'm thinking, what is wrong with being a modern wife? What exactly do you think a modern wife is? And why does it even have a label again? Can you just be a wife as you have, as your capacity entails? That is the whole point. That's the whole point of being anybody, whether you're a wife or you're a husband. Whatever your title or added addendums are, it is based on your capacity. In other words, not all wives are the same. Not all wives can be the same. So I don't understand this obsession with going back to the past. And the thing about going back to the past is, unless it's your past, you cannot relive it accurately. Let me say that again. Unless it is your past, you cannot relive it accurately, authentically, and with the same intentions as the people in the past lived it. That is on one side. On the other hand, even when it is your past, you can relive it. You can only relive it in your head. But you see, even in your head, you're going to omit some things. And that is why people would make the mistake of going back to their exes, because all they are thinking about is how it was without why they left. They're not thinking about why they left. And so sometimes they go back in there and then they separate again, because the reason why they separated in the first place, they didn't relive that part. They didn't remind themselves of that part. They just reminded themselves of the good times and why they got into the relationship with that person. So even reliving your past, you can't be completely accurate with reliving your past, because you would have forgotten some details. You really don't even want to relive your past. That's just the truth. Because, like, if you really relive your past, you would wish it stayed there for real. You really wish it stayed there for real. So I don't understand this trad wife, modern wife kind of thing. Wife is wife, as every woman is capable at every point in time, at different seasons of her life. It is what she is. Wife will be interpreted based on who is in that role with who they are with, right? So I don't understand this call for uniformity. Like, geez, we're not in school again. We left school, and there are some schools that don't even use uniforms. They just have a dress code and that's it. But no, people just have this thing of wanting to be uniform. And another point I want to make is that I don't have a problem with being a wife and being a full-time housewife or a full-time homemaker. My goodness, why would I have a problem with that? Are you kidding? That's a career. You can study home management or home economics to PhD level, if I'm not mistaken. Well, at least to master's level. Home economics, home management is an entire course rather, and it's a science course. It's not even art, it's science. Home management, home economics, well, maybe home management might be commercial, I'm not sure, but home economics is the science. I remember when I was in technical school, when I was doing catering craft practice, we were the only ones who did all the sciences. Engineers were not doing biology, for example. Those in the engineering craft practice, they were not doing that. The sciences they were doing was selected to, like, if they don't need a subject, they don't get to do it because there are so many subjects they have to do. But we, on the other hand, in catering craft practice, we were the only ones who were doing all the sciences. So to even have to deal with food is a science. To deal with fashion is science. Home management is home economics, home management is a is everything in one. You're taking care of the food, you're taking care of the clothing, you're taking care of the finances, you're taking care of the hygiene. There are so many things that go into that. So what I don't understand is how somebody has the time to even sit in front of a camera to tell us that my life is better than yours because you are not like me. What? Why is that necessary? And let me just go back before I start getting into my, the itch I have on this, is I don't have a problem with that. It's an entire course, right? But I also would not demand or try to tell people that, you must do it this way. No, they have to do it the way they're most comfortable with within their abilities. We're adults here. When you become an adult, you do things based on your ability, not based on demand. That is part of, there's so many things that come with adulting that may not necessarily be the best of situations, but one of it is that you need to work within your abilities. You can't even do beyond that anyway. So it is your ability that you would work on, improve on, so that that ability of yours would be, an asset. You will not be average on that. So you focus on that. And that is why you get to do many subjects when you're in primary, secondary, but when you move to tertiary, college, university, your subjects narrow down to what your real interests are and what your real abilities are, and what the merging of your interest and your abilities. Sometimes you may have to choose though. So like I said, I have no problem with full-time housewife. I admire them actually. Because I can't be a full-time housewife. I don't see myself being a full-time housewife because I'm sanguine. I like to go out. I like to do something different. I like to step out of routine and create new routines. And if you're a full-time housewife, you understand that routine is what you must follow. If you don't want, that is how you keep things organized and you work less. You work less as a full-time housewife when you have a routine. I should know that because I did a bit of study on that. And as a Nigerian girl growing up in a Nigerian home, you are a homemaker in training. You find yourself in it. You're told, have you done this one? Have you done that one? Have you eventually you get to understand that at this particular time this is what you should be doing in the house. Then next, followed by that is that one. Followed by that is, so there is a routine you must follow and it must be every day. If you're going to change that routine, it needs a lot of planning. It needs a lot of thinking. So that kind of routine sometimes can get really boring and frustrating for someone like me. I just can't. Besides, I have other talents that are not made for the home. It's not something that I can say I want to keep it in the home. No. I want to explore the world around me and not just stay in the house. So I have utmost respect and admiration for full-time housewives who that is what they want to do and they're good at it because that is where their abilities are. Can they do other things? Most of them, they can. I mean, it's not an issue of lack of intelligence or lack of ability to thrive in the corporate world. In fact, if you can excel, if you excel as a homemaker, you can run. You are the best candidate for a CEO or a chairmanship to run a company, because running a house is like running a company. You're in charge of everything. You're overseeing everything, and everything is coming out fine. What else do you need to run a company? It's like almost the same thing, actually. Which is why a lot of times when, God forbid, something happens to a person's husband and the husband is the owner of the company, when she has confidence in herself and she has people who encourage her and she steps into her husband's shoes, she runs this the same way she runs a home. But we always like to think that, well, again, some feminists started this whole nonsense. They make you seem as if you lack intelligence, you're lazy, you are a waste because you are not aiming to work for a corporation. You're not aiming to work for others. Like, I'm wondering, how is that even a flex that you're working for someone else? You're raking in profits for someone else. When you're working in a home that you co-own, you're a partner. If we are going to look at a housewife in terms of business, she is a partner. So when you tell a woman to leave where she's a partner and where she's building something great, she's building people, she's raising people, she's raising leaders, she's raising men and women of substance, she's building them from scratch. And you think that is, you want to dismiss that as housewife. Well, housewife. So she's a home manager, a home economist. Can somebody loud that? She's a home manager and a home economist. I don't see what the beef is about on that one. But I guess the beef is that they can't do it. And because they can't do it, they hate people who can't do it. I, on the other hand, I admire people that can do something I can do. It's not that I can't be a home economist or a home manager. I'm already that in a capacity, but I'm not perfect at it. I'm not the best at it. I'm just maybe like at the moment average on that one. It requires a lot of work and organization that I'm not exactly, it's not my strongest forte at the moment. So yeah, that's it. So when I see women who can run this well, I'm like, wow, you're a genius. You are a strong genius, and I admire that. Big ups to you, more strength to you. I admire that. But you see, those women are not usually the ones that come in public to tell other women that their life is miserable because they're not the prototype traditional wife. They're even too lazy to call it complete. They call it trad. Trad what? What does trad even mean? You know, what does that even mean? They don't have the time to come. In fact, a lot of them, they have they work with their social life evolves around other wives like themselves. And they meet offline a lot of time. They don't go online, they meet offline, like where they just sit together and just shoot breeze or just eat cake and drink tea or something. They don't really have that much time to come on social media, because any free time they have is what they use to take care of themselves. And sometimes they struggle with that because they are taking care of everything else. They just don't have the time to take care of themselves a lot of times. And I feel for them, you know. But then those who have the time to take care of their career and themselves often don't even have a home to come to. They don't have a home to come to. Their house is in shambles. They can't remember the last time they cleaned or cooked or anything. So at the end of the day, no matter what life you choose, you're going to have to sacrifice or give up something to have it. Not permanently, obviously, but that part is going to struggle. So you're only going to have 80% at most per time. You can now switch, you can have 80% today, but not necessarily have the same 80% tomorrow. In other words, if the 20% that is missing today is your looks, tomorrow you're going to swap, you're going to remove something from the 80% and put that your looks. That the missing 20% of yesterday is what is going to be in the 80% of tomorrow, if you get my drift. So you find a way to reshuffle it like a timetable. So at the end of the day, you might not have 80%, 100% every day, but by the end of the week, you will have had 100% at least 3 times that week. Say that it takes a genius, a planner, a strategist to do all that. I admire that. What I don't admire is people, actresses who are claiming to be traditional wives, telling the rest of us that that is the best life a woman can have. No, that is the best life you want to have, and you have it. Congratulations. Now, can we all get back to our own lives? And do you notice that a lot of the ones that come online a lot to tell us how everybody else is getting it wrong while they are getting it right because they are traditional wives, is that these people have staff. They have domestic staff, y'all. They have domestic staff. They're not the one doing the washing. They're not the one doing the cleaning. All they have to do sometimes is the cooking, and even that cooking, they have chefs to assist them in that. They have nannies for their children. Most traditional wives, they don't have as much assistance like that because, well, maybe their husbands cannot afford it. And so they end up having to do all of that by themselves. And of course, that means that the husband would have to pitch in when he comes back from work. He has to come and take over from his wife because she's exhausted, so that she can rest. But since he's coming from work, maybe he does need to sleep or something like that. Maybe he needs to sleep. Maybe he needs to rest a little bit. Or maybe they need to sleep and they need to get someone to look after the children while they sleep. And then when they wake up, they can then look after the children together for the rest of the day. I think that's a solution right there. The issue now is finding a trustworthy person to look after your children for, say, 8 hours at least, or at least 6 hours, where you sleep and then you get to talk. Then afterwards, you go pick up the children and then have a family time together. At the end of the day, I think your life is not perfect, as you say, if you feel the need to tell people that their life is miserable. If you feel the need to tell people you're not happy if you have to be petty. You're not happy. You're not really happy if you have to be petty. You're not really happy if you have to say things that tear other people down. That's not happiness. When you're happy, people feel uplifted when they see you. The words that come out of your mouth are uplifting. They make people's day. They don't ruin it. They don't put people on edge. You just share the highlight of your day. Oh, wow. Can you imagine what I just did today? Can you imagine what my son just did today? You just talk about those things and, and just share when you feel like it, or, just share the happiness, not compare and contrast and then tear down and then rip off. Like, what's this craze to be stepfords? What is this craze to be stepfords? If anyone in this day and age is gonna sit back and say something like, "Oh, fiction is not real life," then you're the one who is delusional, because Stepford has come to life in form of trad wives. Didn't you notice they all look similar? I'm almost certain that the ones that are not blondes among them are painting their hair. Stepford's wives were blondes too, you know? They were blondes too. And their hair was mostly straight, I guess. Can't remember clearly. They had a certain way they wore their makeup. They had a certain way their hair was done. They wore uniforms, in quote. They were uniformed. What is this craze about being uniformed? I mean, why are, not even is, why are what we have in common as women not enough? Like, why are those things? It's not even one thing, right? We have features that are similar. Why are those things not enough? We have moods and hormones that are similar. Why isn't that enough? Why do we need to be fit into a mold? We don't even look like we have similar features, but with different characteristics. With variant, we are variants. I don't understand why everybody must be uniform, because even the thing is, if we all insist that we have to be a pineapple, eventually that will become plain, because like there are no variants to that. It's just pineapple alone, and that takes away the beauty of pineapple, because now everybody is conforming to the pineapple mode. Like, why do we have to be that? Why can't we be like fruits? Why can't we be like flowers? Even flowers are different from one another. There are roses, even roses have different colors. There are lilies. There's so many flowers, right? So many flowers. And those flowers even have species. Like, why can't we celebrate the variety that we have? Why must we say, if you're going to be a wife, this is the kind of wife you must be, and this is how to be that wife. And if you're not doing that, you're not going to be happy. Your husband is going to leave you, and so on and so forth. And we're forgetting that men did leave traditional wives. In other words, like, if a man is going to leave, it doesn't matter whether you're modern, traditional, whatever wife, he will leave. There will always be one reason. Or you only have time for the children and the house. You don't have time for me. You don't respond well. You slept off the other time when we were intimate with each other. Of course you slept off, bro. You were the last to wake up and the first to go to bed. She was the first to wake up and the last to go to bed. And she's like, you know what? Okay, I just want to make sure that you're fine in that area. And you are looking for someone, you're looking for a vixen in your bed, when she's made sure that you had a clean house, the children are not disturbing you as much, and you had a hot meal to eat. She didn't just snap her fingers to get that for you. A lot of times you find a situation where, traditional women who feel that they have to be trad wives, they fall into the hands of selfish men, because everything is about serving your husband. Well, it will get to a point where he wants a woman who would challenge him mentally. So what do you do then? And he's not going to tell you. That's the thing. He's not going to tell you. because you are falling into the hands of a selfish man. You got to remain as mysterious as you are. You have to remain a woman that has to be discovered all the time. But if you decide that everybody must be a pineapple, it becomes an overstudied, boring fruit that everyone knows. And then the next thing you know, pineapple that is exotic, that is cooling, that is all the wonderful things that pineapple is, it now becomes boring. And the next thing you know, a man wants cherries, he wants strawberries, because he's been having pineapples. Like everywhere is just pineapple. And it's like, is there nothing else? Next thing you know, he hates green and he hates yellow, because that represents what he sees all the time. Whereas we're built to be variants at different seasons of our lives. We're built to be variants. It's interesting to know that the fruit of the Spirit is not even fruits in plural, it's one fruit. And it contains 9 characteristics. One fruit, 9 characteristics. It's not even fruits. The fruit of the Spirit is one, with 9 characters to it. They are linked, but they are different. Interesting, isn't it? And you have to develop all these things at once. So we're not built or created to be one thing and one thing alone. And I think it's odd that, women are being pigeonholed into being something different like that. It's just, what I would do? If someone gets abusive in the name of trying to teach you to be a trad wife or whatever, report them on social media and block them. You deserve your peace of mind, okay? If you're happy where you're at and you're doing your best, maybe you also want to be a wife yourself. But, the man you want to be a wife to is not forthcoming at the moment. And yet God has given you different parts of your life to keep you busy and fulfilled while you're waiting for that season of your life to appear, while you're waiting for the right man to connect to the right person, right? And then someone comes and tells you that your life is miserable and all. And they're trying to convince you, so what are you supposed to do? Grab any male and marry them because you want to be a wife? Like, why would anyone want to subject someone else to that kind of misery? You marry who you can be one with. Not just somebody that is not just any available person. Like, that's not how marriage is done. It's not about what men want, though. Can we all agree? It's not about what men want. It's about you finding your own match. I always use this analogy. As poisonous as snakes are, they have their own pair. They don't walk around single. If they were all single, they would have been extinct a long time ago. So if snakes can find their own pair, I don't see how bad a person can be. Like trad some social media trad wives like to paint women that are not them. No matter how bad you think a non-trad woman is, she has her own match. She has her own pair somewhere. I mean, snakes have their pair. Reptiles have their pair. As wild and as wicked as they can be, they have their own pair. It's just a matter of finding somebody that thinks like them as well, that has a similar thought process, that has a similar orientation, and that's it. Let, social media trad women stick with their social media trad men, and that's fine. Or whatever it is, a man that fits into that kind of thing. But there's something devilish and something wicked, actually, about saying you're happy, and if people are not in your kind of happy, they're miserable. You have to understand, That is, if you don't already, that people are different. Women differ from one to the other. And what makes one woman happy is not necessarily where another woman's happiness lies. Even if they are to be in the same position. Being a wife is not a role where you have a rules set in stone for everyone in that role. No, it is a position. It is for now, what I can think of is a position. Is a position, is another expression of what a woman can be. An expression of what a woman can be. It's not supposed to stress her all the freaking time. It's not supposed to leave her stressed all the time. If it's leaving her stressed, perhaps it's because she's doing more than she ought to do. Like, it's becoming really exhausting. I really don't know what to say anymore. For now, anyway. I'll just say, live your life, be happy. But don't try to insist that how you practice your wifery or how you practice womanhood is how every woman must do it exactly. No, it can't be exactly. Like women, for example, a lot of women have menstrual pain, but I can assure you they don't use the same medication. Like, they don't use the same medication doesn't work. It doesn't. They have to use a medication that works for each person. So if three women have menstrual pain and the medication differs, that tells you how differently women respond to treatment, even if they're in the same situation. Women give birth all the time. Some, after a few hours of labor, the baby is out, and some, they're in labor for days and nearly takes their life. As women, we have to empathize. I think the reason why I find this upsetting is that why would a woman betray another woman like that? Why would you act like you don't know these women? You don't know how they feel. You are a woman, at least I assume you are. And yet you talk with condescension to other women because their life is not exactly like yours. Really, I don't know anyone who will shame someone into living life on their own terms, except somebody that is not having the best of it and wants to share their misery. Oh, no, sorry, not misery, happiness. When people are happy, a lot of times they don't come on social media to show it. They don't come in public to show it. They keep it to themselves. But when someone is making too much noise about how happy they are, you begin to wonder, are you happy or you're miserable? And you just want more people to be as miserable as you are. Because why are you becoming an advertisement for happiness according to how you do things? Is it that you're like, your life is miserable and you're like, you know what, I want other women to be as miserable as I am, but I'm going to tell them that I'm happy, and they're not happy if they're not doing things my own way? I'm going to exaggerate, call what is actually drudgery something that has a positive effect on the hormones, rather than something that nearly breaks my back when I'm doing it. I don't see the fun in sweeping and in cleaning. It doesn't feel like fun. It's just, shall we say, a way to vent a lot of times. Because when you are venting, you're not thinking about, you're just keeping your hands busy and yourself busy. But when you're really in a relaxed mood, you're not trying to mop or clean. You only do it because it's necessary. And to make matters peachy, on Nigerian Twitter, there was a woman who was rewarded in millions because she said she wakes up early in the morning to prepare lunch and breakfast for her husband. What was her reason? Her husband said something, and she's like, oh, so that someone will not take her husband with food. And a lot of men and some women hailed that. And they began to give her gifts and all. I'm happy for her, but I was like, are these gifts coming from the heart of people that just want to make your life easier, or they're just coming from a place of I want to spite people that disagree with you kind of thing? And not too long after, we start hearing about female privilege, how there is more support for women than there are for men. There is more support for girls, more scholarship for girls, more. And people were like, one lady said something really, really profound. And she said, oh, so you know that boys are marginalized, which I don't agree with, but let's just agree with you and say boys are marginalized. And yet you took money that you could put together to fill the gap that you think is there against boys. You could have taken the money you gave a woman to reward her for cooking for her husband. You could have taken that money and used it to improve the welfare of boys, to bring about equality that you think that doesn't exist for boys. But instead, you use that money to reward somebody that agrees with your idea of how a woman should think. Like, it's not women's fault. Your priorities got warped somewhere. And instead of taking accountability that, oops, I should have used that money to do something wonderful for boys, I instead gave it to a woman who's married, but because she agrees with how I think women must think, I give her that money. And here I am. I'm left with complaining about the plight of boys. I don't know. I think that is funny, but not funny at the same time. Like, I'm always amazed how issues become hydra-headed. Like you're talking about one thing, and next thing you know, it's linked to other things as well. And so when people say things like something is none of your business, sometimes it is true, but a lot of times it is everybody's business. Eventually, it will become everybody's business. Something you had nothing to do with just suddenly becomes your business, and you're like, how did I get here? Why is this now my business? Why does this concern me now? Well, it does. Again, I always use COVID as an example. Someone, according to WHO, okay, unless they change their explanation for how COVID spread across the world or where it started from, I would just say what they said, that it came from China. How is it that something comes from China and it spreads across the world? It should be China's business. When did it become a global business? Quote unquote, however it is you want to look at it. It was supposed to be China's business. What happens in China should remain in China, considering rumor has it that they censor a lot of things. How come COVID did not get censored and kept within China? Why did it spread out of China across continents into villages far, far, far away from China? All over the world, it became a pandemic, literally and figuratively. What does that tell you? Like, everything eventually becomes your business. It's just a matter of time. Everything becomes everybody's business. It's just a matter of time. You can shut the borders all you want, but there'll always be that escape route somewhere. People were evacuating right, left, and center. People were shutting their borders and shutting their airports, but it still spread. It still spread. In the 21st century, that we think we thought we were better. See, that's also an issue of pride. We thought we were better than our ancestors and our grandparents. How could there be a spread of disease? Well, now you know how it can happen. Now we know how it can happen. I suppose if we give birth to children that are just like us, they will tell us 50, 100 years from now, well, make that 50 years, that, oh, wow, how is it possible that with all the technology, you just were not intelligent enough to stop a disease from spreading? Yeah, well, at least you remember said that about your parents and your grandparents. If we didn't learn from that, that what is not your business, if left unchecked and uncontrolled, will eventually become your business. It's only a matter of time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of God alike, all right, just guard your hearts with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. Remember that they that know their God, they will be strong and they will do exploits. And God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I hope you had an amazing February 14 and the rest of February, really, when it comes to the issue of love. Make sure you love you correctly, properly. True love expressed properly brings about growth, brings about clarity, brings about development. All right, then. Peace. Peace, peace, peace.